Yes, hello to everybody and a very, very warm welcome to all of you to this Climate Leader Lunch Hangout in the project Remarkable. We want to welcome you to this digital lunch hangout where we will spend some time together. And I am very joyful to welcome all of you to this event, and I really look forward to spend this time together with you. So this is a series of 8 climate leader lunch hangouts that we are doing together with different climate leaders around the world. This is a webinar that will be seen by many different climate leaders from different countries in Europe, some present here today, and some will also watch the recording afterwards. So we have gathered here today because of the project Remarkable, a project who has received funding from the European Union Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Programme under the grant agreement 101-024-972. So Remarkable are supporting local leaders to deliver a step change in progress towards carbon neutrality by 2050 or earlier in 7 different regions across Europe. The climate emergency and the energy transition agendas requires a clear leadership, ambition, courage, and conviction if our 2050 targets are going to be achieved. So Remarkable are creating a network of current and emerging leaders, climate leaders, who through their actions and inspiration will drive their municipalities, their public authorities, communities, and regions. They will transform their approaches from one focused mainly on energy efficiency and renewables to one focused on the strategic goal of climate neutrality by 2050. They will set new levels of ambition compared to the national energy and climate plans and showcase local leadership and innovation. So during this webinar, I also want to remind you that it is possible to put questions in the chat box. So when we have finished listening to our speaker, we will have the question and answer session for those who want to give your questions. So this is why we are meeting here today, and I am very happy to welcome you to this community. And our speaker this time is Ms. Carina Sammeli, the mayor of Luleå Municipality in northern Sweden. And Carina will join our community and give a talk to us about the city's strategic priorities for a green and climate neutral growth to 2040. Mayor Sammeli is focusing her work on creating a sustainable growth in Luleå Municipality and making way for the green industrial transition in the region. So we are very, very happy to have Ms. Carina with us today. A very warm welcome, and I want to give you the floor, Carina.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you so much for the invitation. I will try to, I can't share my pictures, so can you please give me access to that, or can you share them for me?
Yes, please check if it's possible now, otherwise we will arrange it.
Now it's possible.
Great, thank you so much.
So, hopefully you see my pictures now. Well, I'm the mayor of Luleå, a city far up north in Sweden, in the Arctic of Sweden. We're a coastal city, and we are right now one of the hottest regions in Europe. I will try to guide you through what is going on in this region. That is my everyday life as a mayor up here, to try to make everything that's going on up in the north and the focus on north, make the changes possible and the transition possible, both for industries and the people living here. Well, first, a little bit about Luleå. We're a city in Sweden we're considered quite big, the biggest city up in the north. We have about 80,000 inhabitants. And we're the resident city, biggest resident city in the region of Norrbotten up in the north. We are the university city, but we have also for generations been an industry city. As many of you know, we have steel mills or iron ore mines up in the north. And since the railway come down to the coast and to our harbor down here, we've been a city where the industries has been very, very important, and especially the industries out of mining and minerals. But right now we're a city where most people work in the ICT sector, and we have many national agencies in our city, and people are working with everything. And we also have the defense. The Swedish Air Force has one of their bases here. So we're in a defense city, we're an industry city, we're an ICT city, we're an innovating city with the university, and a growing gaming industry connected to the ICT, of course. And as I started, we're by the lakes, and we have a great archipelago with 1,300 islands. Many people think that the northern of Sweden is only winter, but we actually have great summers and great winters. So that is not the kind of winters you're used to, and maybe not the kind of summers you're used to down in the south, but we actually are an all year true destination for tourists coming in here in January, February, but also in the summer. And what is also very, since we have heavy dirty industry and has had that for a long time with big investments for generations, we have very low unemployment rates. That also means that people here got a job, and that we do not really have social problems in our different areas, since most people have a job. And that also means that we can have good quality in schools and preschools, because kids actually go to school and stay there. And afterwards they get a job, and their parents also get a job. Right now we're into something quite big. This is Ursula von der Leyen, who now 4 years ago made a speech about what's going up in the north. And she said that there are few places in the world that are so well placed as here. And that is, of course, because of the green energy we have here, green electricity. And I see this every day because I also get the guests from all over Europe and all over the world coming here to see what is going on in our region. So what is it that is going on? Well, it's about being fossil free. It's about the heavy, dirty industries, as I already told you, that they are very, very close to our societies here. They exist here for hundreds of years. We have mines, and we have minerals, we have steel mills, and these industries, they use a lot of fossil fuels. And when they are right now doing their transition and leaving fossil fuels, that will make a great impact of the industry and the carbon dioxide emissions of Sweden. Today, Luleå is a city. Sweden has about 11 million inhabitants. As I said, Luleå has 80,000, and we are about 8% of the carbon dioxide emissions of Sweden right now. Why is that? Well, it's because we have a steel mill burning coal every day, coal and cokes every day, and making huge emissions because of that. And that, of course, affects us locally, but also the climate in the world. And what is going on right now? Well, about 10 years ago, the SSAB steel mill company here, together with Vattenfall, the Swedish energy company, and LKAB, the Swedish mining company, started a project called the Hybrid Project. And they are actually doing steel out of fossil-free steel. And then they use green hydrogen instead of coal. And what is going on right now is not only steel, it's more than steel, but the steel is one of the things. Because right now we have industries all over our region who wants to leave fossil fuels and come into something else. And as I said, we have minerals up here, and the Swedish strategy of getting rid of fossil fuels is actually an electrification. And that means that we need a lot of minerals, because even no matter if you want to build a grid or you want to build a battery, you need minerals. And today we are actually buying these minerals from Russia and China, and they are not our best partners right now. We do not want to be dependent upon them. And also we know that their mines do not have a high sustainable level. So that means that right now we are actually using minerals out, needs minerals from northern Sweden. They also exist in northern Finland and northern Norway, but to make a transition of electrification. And also these industries that are using many fossil fuels, they need to transition to something else. Some of them can go into electricity, and they do that, but others, they cannot use electricity, so they need hydrogen. And that means that they want to do hydrogen. And if you want to do green hydrogen, you need a lot of water, clean water, but you definitely need a lot of electricity. And that is the plan for many of the industries up in the north right now. Right now, you have a map in front of you, and it's some of the projects that are going on right now in northern Sweden. We have investments of hundreds of billion euros up in this region in Sweden, up in the north. It's mining companies, it's steel mill companies, not only the Luleå steel mill company SSAB will make a transition, but in our neighbor city Boden, we will build a whole new steel mill, the first new steel mill in Europe actually since the 70s, also using hydrogen. We have a project, it's actually not even on the map, with Spanish Fertiberia and Swedish Lantmännen making green fertilizer also out of green hydrogen. And instead of using natural gas, they will then use hydrogen, green hydrogen. And that means that right now, and we are the first city, we have the data centers of Meta, when Facebook, well, more than 10 years ago, started their first data center out of the United States. They actually came to Luleå and opened their data center. Today, they have 3 data centers here. Why are they here? Well, they need green energy, green electricity. And actually, it's quite good. It's cold outside. That's a little bit of natural cooling of their servers as well. So we have industries that are very, very using, and they need this surplus of green energy we have in this area right now. And now I show you a map also of our neighbor region. Skellefteå is in the far bottom of the map, and that's our neighbor region, Västerbotten, but they are also in the same transition as we are. So right now we are cooperating as cities very, very close, and also Gällivare, Kiruna up the big mining cities of Sweden. They are also making a transition. What is common for all of us right now is that we are working with very, very big industries that are making their transition and transiting their whole industry. Because right now the car industries are leaving gas and coming into batteries. The electrification of the cars is already going on, and in Skellefteå they are trying to produce car batteries for European production of cars, then electrical cars, vehicles. And in Luleå Boden, we're looking at, well, as I said, fertilizer, but also steel. We also have smaller companies as Talga using natural graphite in building batteries, battery anodes for the car batteries. And then, of course, we have the mines. And then we have the grids. Yeah, this is not the roads or railroads on the map. It's actually the electricity grids. Because what is very, very important for every part of this is the electricity. And in Sweden, we have renewable energy. And up here in the north, we have big production of green energy, renewable energy. We have hydropower out of the Luleå River and other rivers up here. And we also have in Piteå Municipality a windmill park, actually the biggest land-driven windmill park in Europe right now, in Markbygden. So we have a lot of electricity production right now. And I can also say that the conflict within Sweden is if the north and the industries up north should use all the energy, or if we need it in the whole of Sweden. Sweden have for, well, almost 50 years been exporting renewable energy every year. And right now, when we start to make an energy transition and get the fossil fuels out of the production, both in cars, in industries, but also in everyday life for people, we will need a lot of new energy. And even if we've had the surplus of renewable energy, for the coming 10 years, we will have to start new energy production and also building grids and batteries and everything to make a new energy system working. And in Sweden, we also have a big debate about what is the renewable energy. And as I see it, we'll need a lot of wind power, but also solar power in the coming 5 or 10 years. Maybe on the longer term, we will have other parts, but that will be very, very important that we fastly build new energy production in our country, also here up in the north. I showed you a map of whole of northern Sweden. I'm not in charge of everything. I'm only the mayor of Luleå and take care of my city of 80,000 people. But I also wanted to show you this picture, and it's actually our industrial area, Luleå Industrial Park. Only in this area, the coming 4.5 years, we will have investments in about 9 billion euros. It's, of course, SSAB, the steel mill. It's Uniper making electrofuels for shipping. So we can have a whole green and renewable value source coming up with the iron ore from the mines, going to the industries, making steel, and going out on boats that are also on renewable fuels. We have the harbor of Luleå. That's our own harbor, and that has been slow and working with the same, like coal coming in and steel and iron ore coming out for the past 50 years. And right now we're into a transition when we're needing to work with many companies and new products. So we're rebuilding the total of the harbor, and that will actually be in the size of Gothenburg within 5 years. A huge challenge for a small municipality, but still something we need to do. LKAB, the Swedish mine company, also have investments in Luleå. They are using their they are finding rare earth metals and can extract them from their mining process and sell phosphorus and other rare earth minerals. So they actually will have and also do fertilizer out of it, I can say. And then we have Talga, as I told you, making battery anodes. So only in this area, we're about 9 billion euros in investments. And this is actually an area where no one was working on making a transition 2 years ago. And right now we have hundreds of people, because right now everything has to go on at the same time. Many of the companies who needs to find new solutions for water, for energy, of course, new electricity grids, transportation of the people. Right now, the coming years, we will have about 8,000 people working in this area to build it. And afterwards, it will be about 3,000 to 5,000 people working in the industries there. So we will have a lot of people moving in and out of this area. And that will also affect the rest of Luleå, of course. As a city with 80,000 inhabitants, having 8,000 people working in this area in a few years, and many of them coming from other countries, moving into this area only to build the harbor, the industries, that will be a huge challenge for our society. So what do we do? Well, we've made a plan for what is important for us. And first of all, I must say that with 8% of the Swedish carbon dioxide emissions in my city, it is important for us that the industries can make their transition, that if they can succeed, that is probably the most important thing we can do. So we really try to help the industries to make their transition, because that will have huge scale impact on the climate and on this world. And it also, of course, is very good for Sweden, our export, but also for our local society here. But what is important for us is that we will grow with the industries in a sustainable way. Because I am hired of the people living in Luleå. They are the one who tells me what to do and what I should work with, and it's for them I actually work. So when we are doing this transition, it is important for us to make sure that we grow in a sustainable way. We've said that until 2040, we need to be about 100,000 inhabitants in Luleå. We've been slowly growing with about 400 people a year for the past 10 years, and the coming 10 years, we will have to grow with about 1,000, 1,500 people a year. That's a huge growth, and it's a huge rise of our growth. And that means that we need new schools and roads and buses and everything that people need to be able to live here. We also want to create 5,000 new jobs. When we made these goals a few years ago, we thought that was a challenge. Now I realize 5,000 new jobs until 2040 will not be a challenge. The challenge is quite the opposite. We do not have people enough to take all the jobs here, since we have low unemployment rates. We also say that we need to be climate neutral until 2040. We will have zero impact on the climate. That is a huge challenge. actually every part of our goals are due challenges, and we don't really know the solutions right now. But for us, it's important to say that we will not only be working with industries, but we need to be working with the industries and their and our growth in a sustainable way. And the sustainability for the climate is one of the things that we need to work with. And I can also say that in the climate impact goal, we also have that we should be make a surplus to nature in the same time. So we need to make sure that if we need to use green green areas for the industries or for housing, we need to compensate that in our areas so we can have a living in nature. We will need nature, insects, everything also in the future. And we also have a goal about 100% functional everyday life for the people living here. We need to build this city in a way that it is good for people who live here. The schools are good today, and they have to continue to be good. We are actually right now, when we have quite tough economical times in Sweden, we actually spend more money right now on culture, on schools, on social care, elderly care, and other things, because we think that we need to be an attractive city for the people who live here. And that has to work with the development we're into. So I don't really know how to do it, but I know that it's important for me and for my colleagues as politicians to have the goals about every part of this is important for the growth of our city. And we're actually quite good off, I would say. I had to show you the picture when I last summer got a prize. This is the Swedish Minister of Public Administration with me in Almedalen in Sweden last year. The magazine Focus makes a ranking of all 290 municipalities in Sweden every year, and we actually won when the prize of the best city to live in and to stay in. And we're very, very proud of that, because it's not, they didn't ask people, they actually measured. Where can you get a housing for a good price? Where do you get a good salary? How good is the school? How good is the elder care? How cheap is it to own your own car or go by bus? Many different things that they were looking into. And of course, we have a prize as being the best, and that is important for me to stick on to. We need to grow, but we need to grow sustainable, and we need to grow with the people living here, for the people living here. And it still will be challenges. Because, as I said, we have big industries making huge investments right now, and there are conflicts involved in them. Rebuilding our harbor will affect people living on the islands close to the harbor, not in a good way. From maybe taking 2 boats in every day, they will have boats coming in and out, loading every hour of the day, every day of the year. That will be an impact. It will be very, very difficult to have the same kind of life there in the future, but we have to try, and we have to have a dialogue together with people on how should this city work out in the future, and how can we be able to make it a good living also in the future for this city. I think I end there, and we move on to questions from you, Isabella.
Yes, Carina, thank you so much for this presentation, and thank you so much for this very interesting news about the energy transition taking place in the northern part of Sweden. So it's really a huge territory, and there are really many things that are going on, and very, very interesting to have this report from you and you sharing about everything that is happening. So there is a big transition, and there are so many people involved in this. You're explaining about different municipalities, different cities, different industries. So if you would say, like, what is the most important piece in the puzzle for making all this happen, to making all this collaboration and streamlined development take place? Could you give us an example of what is very, very important for this to happen?
Oh. Well, first of all, the sense of urgency is important. Sometimes I think that we, as a small municipality, we make it easier than a big national agency, because I live this every day. I talk to these companies. I realize how much impact on the climate and on the world their change will make for Sweden, but also for the world. And that means that it is quite easy for me to say that, well, our harbor has been growing slowly and now we will grow very fast and it's worth it. And yes, I realize people will be affected, but still it will be worth it. We have to take care of everything at the same time, but yes, it will be worth it. And we have to find new ways of working to make this transition possible. That is actually one of the big challenges to get everyone else to understand. In Sweden, for instance, we have the railway system that is not municipality owned. It's state owned by the Transportation Agency of Sweden. They do not change their total planning system and building system because we are short of time up here. That is a challenge, like to get everyone to speed up and realize that you need to do something else, not the same thing you did 2 years ago, because that was good for what you were doing 2 years ago. But right now we have another situation and we need to hurry up. And that, I would say, is the biggest challenge. And that's actually one of the things I spend most of my time doing, telling people from in the national level in Sweden or in companies and agencies that you need to work in new ways to speed this process up. Otherwise, we will fail. And it will not be a problem, or it will definitely be a problem for Luleå if we fail, but it will be a problem for the world and for the nation of Sweden if we fail. And that means that you need to start working in new ways. The good thing is that it is possible. I also have the examples where we actually have a very, very good dialogue with the companies and with different agencies and are actually able to make shortcuts in how to build an electricity grid. And I'm not saying that we are making shortcuts and we do not anymore like take in account that people live there and that we need to protect nature and make sure that this is good and democratic made. We actually are doing many processes at the same time instead of after each other, so we can speed up within the Swedish laws and we are still talking to the same people who need to be involved and taking care of the nature and the energy and everything that you need to look at, but we're doing it in another way, and we're definitely doing it together, sitting in the same room early to know what everyone else knows. So it is possible, but you need everyone to want to do that. And that is a challenge when there are many different actors in the same game and trying to cooperate with everyone.
Yeah, so I think what you're mentioning is a very crucial point here. And I think Northern Sweden is very famous to have this kind of collaborative environment where people are very interested to come together, sit together, talk and find solutions. So I think we have some great examples here of collaboration between different stakeholders, multi-level governance. And it's really, really nice to hear you share about this and the experience that's come out from that. I know also that there is something that's been famous, known as the Luleå model. Yes. When it comes to the development of the energy system. Yes. Would you like to say something about that? What is the Luleå model and what could this model achieve and what was the purpose of this work?
Yeah. As I showed you, we have many industries working in our area and we have to cooperate with them. And we have an energy company owned by the municipality. They own local grids, but also our district heating system. When the big companies were applying for electricity, they got the answer that there's not enough energy and it's not enough energy right now. So we actually gathered everyone from the companies in the same room and they shared their business secrets with each other, and we had agreements on what you were allowed to say and not to say to each other within the room. And when we started looking together, we could actually see that the Swedish energy system had some problems. First of all, you could apply for electricity without having a good plan on how much you actually needed. So the first part was to look at how much do we need, and then we saw that the application they made were not actually what they wanted to use. Because everyone, like, they knew that there will be a deficit of electricity in Northern Sweden, so everyone wanted to apply early. And then they applied for electricity early, and then they like, oh, we don't know how big it should be, maybe we apply for this much. And then when they started working, no one wants to pay a high electricity bill, so then they are like closing it down. But there were no system taking this smaller system down, and for the companies, they had no need for taking their demands down because they paid for the application, and after that there was no interaction until you had your application agreed upon. So what we were actually doing was putting everyone in the same room, also with the state, Svenska kraftnät, the Swedish agency for national grids, and the local regional company Vattenfall, looking at this together, and could see that we need to change the way we are working with the application for electricity, and also looking at every company needs to work with using less energy. Even if we have a surplus of electricity today, we will not have that forever. So everyone has to go back and make sure that they use as little as possible.
Yeah.
But also we saw that they were actually not using it in the same way. If you're doing hydrogen, you don't have to do it in the same second it's going into the industries. So that is actually possible to plan a little bit. And if you're the steel mill company, they are making new ovens, and it's like a flash coming in. And as you realize, a flash, that's not constant. It's not like they are using this energy every second. They're using it and then they don't use it. So maybe if we plan this to make sure that maybe we do not do the hydrogen at the same time the flash is on. So when we were actually sitting together looking at the system, you realize that we can use more electricity if we plan how to use it. And that means that we can be more efficient on the electricity need, and also how to use it. So that is the Luleå model, sitting together, finding the problems, and also make it better together. And that it actually went so far that the Swedish national legislation about how to use and apply for electricity is totally changed this New Year's Eve because of the work we did.
Yes, yes, it is really excellent, excellent example of energy planning, where all the different stakeholders are gathered and finding solution for some nodes that was there for a very, very long time. So it's a really impressive work, and really, really good state, like a mark that is putting a new trend in the whole planning system in Sweden. So it's a really, really excellent work that all of you achieved together. Really, really impressive. So also some weeks ago, we have the news that SSAB, the steel producer in your municipality, has announced that they are going to be climate neutral by 2028. So they are building a totally new facility where the steel production is going to be totally climate neutral. So this must be a very big step on the journey for you. And it should also pave way for so much new room for things to be discussed and focused on, because one of the major issues with the climate neutrality is about to solve itself. So how do you see on the future? How do you think things will develop after these things is happening, and what is the future for the energy transition after receiving this news? What is going to happen after, like, what is the next step, so to say?
And SSAB is very, very important. It has been for Luleå for generations, but it will be very important in the future. And we are very, very proud and happy. At the same time, as you say, there are challenges coming into this. We've actually had a company together with SSAB for almost 50 years called Luleå Kraft. It's the Luleå Kraft company buys the spare gas out of the furnace and makes heat and electricity and sell the heat into our district heating system. And we actually heat about 40,000 people in Luleå with the heating out of the spare gas of the furnace that SSAB has. And now they are telling us that they will close down the furnace in, 5 years, 6 years. And that means that we have to make transition of our whole district heating system. Otherwise, 40,000 people in Luleå, and we do have cold winters, so we don't want to put out the heating. So we need to make a transition of that. And that is actually our biggest thing right now, that we need to find new sources of energy into our heating system. And we are actually working very, very close with SSAB on this, because many of the people working in SSAB, they also live here. They want to make sure that they're, first of all, it's been a good economic business for them selling their spares to us, so that has been good for them, and they of course want to make sure that their spare heat in the future can be used for something. So, and making hydrogen will make a lot of spare gas, but also these electrical ovens will make a lot of heat. So right now we are cooperating with SSAB to use the spare heat, not the spare gas anymore, the spare heat out of their processes into heating our city. And that work is actually like accelerating right now. We've been talking and thinking for a few years, but right now we know that since they've made their decision on investments, we need to speed up the process. At the same time, they will probably not, I'm not a technician, but engineer, but they will probably not be able to solve the 100% of our need. And also we're a growing city, so we will probably need more in the future. So we're actually cooperating again then with other industries and asking them, do they have spare heat they want to sell to us for and make money out instead of just air it out and make the warm the air or the water warmer. So that is actually a process we are working very, very close to right now. And then also looking into like smaller things, buses. If more people need to work here, should we have the buses coming more often? And where people are working, should we have, and the ones who are building it, where they are living, should we have buses between that? So we're cooperating on every level right now. And also, as I said, our harbor is being rebuilt and we're dredging it. And that's actually one of the biggest dredging projects in Sweden. When we start dredging, we can also take bigger boats coming in. And with bigger boats, we will also lessen the impact on the transportation side. But we also do not have enough railway. And as I said, that is a challenge. But right now, when the industries will have more, will need more transportation, we will need more railway. So that is also what we're working very, very close on the state level to make sure that people can go by train and not only by their own car. We will need the railway to be rebuilt and a new railway actually built as well.
Yeah, so there are so many parts involved in this transition that you maybe not, when you say that you're going to build a new steel mill or renovate a steel mill, you don't see all these levels that is unfolding out after this. So it seems like a lot of the work is about building awareness, because there are many people who are not aware about what is happening. They don't have understanding of the regional context and maybe the challenges rising from this. So it seems like a lot of work is being put into just get people onboarded into this big transition, that all the authorities and all the important stakeholders are involved in the process in some way. So that must be a very huge work that you all are doing in a very great way.
Yes. And can I say one more thing? One of our challenges is that we are not enough people living here. We have high we have low unemployment rate and many people are going into retirements in the coming years, and more people are getting old, so we need more people working in elderly care. But about 30% of the people working in elderly care in Luleå today will be in retirement until 2030. So we have huge groups leaving the labor force, and then we do not have enough of people entering it. So that is one of our biggest challenges, actually, to move people up here. And what we see, especially looking at Skellefteå, and they are a few years ahead of us with Northvolt's industry, the battery industry there. So what we see is that the people who want to move and work in their industries, they want a sustainable life. They are actually moving into the green transition of a sustainable industry, and they want their values to be shown in the life they live. And that is actually one of the challenges for us right now. We do not have enough housing for everyone. We need to build fast so people can move in, but still we want it to be sustainable and beautiful, and we want the culture to flourish and like the good architecture, and still we want to do it in a good way and sustainable way. And that is a huge challenge, and we're thinking a lot about how we build sustainability when we're in a haste.
Yeah, that is really a challenge. So time is wrapping up. So I will give you one last question, Carina. If you could now, in this huge task you have ahead of you and that you are working so much on, if you could wish for just one thing right here now, what would that be for this to be supported, for the work to really take a step forward?
I don't think I have one, but what is very important is These industries, they are changing because clients are changing. Their customers want sustainable products, but also because it will be expensive to make emissions in the future. So that is important, that we do not change the rules in the middle of the work. If it will no longer be expensive to make emissions, well, maybe the transition will not continue. So that is important. Like, don't change the legislation about going into a sustainable future and to be climate neutral. That will be very, very important to keep the pressure on that issue. And then I would say to cooperate to be successful is also what I want for everyone and need from everyone.
Yeah, that is really great. I think we will have that as the final words. Don't change the regulation and continue to collaborate. So we are so very grateful that you were here with us today and that you could share this journey that you are doing with the energy transition. So very, very many thanks for that. We are going to wrap up this session today, and I want to do that by giving invitation to everyone here who are listening today. So this talk with Carina Sammeli will be posted later on as a recording for those who were not here today, so you can be with us and also have a view afterwards. And the next Climate Leader Circle Hangout will take place on the 16th of May, and the guest with us for that day will be Seamus Hoyne, who are one of the real climate leaders in Europe, who will speak about the role of the energy agencies in the energy transition, and how the energy agencies around in Europe are real leaders and facilitators of collaborators of the energy transition taking place in Europe. So please come with us for the next Climate Leader Lunch Hangout if you are available in your calendar. And with that, I want to thank everybody for today and see you soon again. And many, many thanks, Carina, for being with us today. Thank you so much.